Good morning. Thank you all so much for being here. We are live and interactive with you at our 2024 ACSA Vice Presidential Candidate Forum. Coming up, we've got our two great vice president candidates that will be voted on at our May Leadership Assembly. We'll introduce you to both of them and give you an opportunity to ask questions as we start our live broadcast for the 2024 ACSA Vice Presidential Candidate Forum. And it's just a couple of minutes after 10 a.m. here on April 23rd. Welcome to the 2024 ACSA Vice Presidential Candidate Forum. I'm Naj Alikhan, ACSA Senior Director of Marketing and Communications. Coming up, we will introduce you to the two great education leaders here in the state of California who are running for ACSA Vice President. We'll tell you a little bit about the importance of this position, the line of which this position moves into president, and we'll give you an opportunity to ask questions as we go through our live broadcast. Before we get started, let's bring in ACSA Executive Director, Dr. Edgar Zasweta, onto our broadcast today. Edgar, you've had an opportunity for a number of years to get to know our two great candidates and see them up and down the state.
Well, first of all, Naj, thanks for making room for me here. I know I was a last-minute addition here, not matching your style as usual, but here's the reality. I heard we were doing this today. Obviously, it was on my calendar. And anytime you and Michael and the lunch break team doing so, I got FOMO that I wasn't going to be on.
That's what it was.
So I wanted to jump on. No, but in all honesty, Naj, like the one thing that I felt compelled, and this is the first time I've been able to jump on just to say hello at one of these forums. And I think the reason I was motivated to do so is because I've seen both of these ladies, how hard they've been working at this. I've been going up and down the state at every event, just as our various gatherings, our conferences, our PD events, our regional conferences. And I think I've seen these two at every single, they've probably been to more of the events, frankly, than I have. And I think it's just a testament to their commitment to this organization, to the future of this organization. We're in good hands regardless of where this goes. And I'm just eternally grateful to get to work with both of them on our board right now. And I've just seen the contributions that they made. It's not easy to put yourself out there as I think as our members who have been through this, you have enough on your plate just with your day jobs, serving kids, serving their communities. And on top of that, this is why I always love being part of this organization as staff, just because we see how much that logo means to our members. And it's not about the logo, it's everything that logo represents, right? In terms of the leaders, the camaraderie, the folks, the community. And so we're lucky to have them both putting themselves forward. And I look forward to the forum. So thank you for giving me a chance to just say hi, Naj.
Yeah, thanks, Edgar, so much.
I was giving you a little bit of compliments of what people were saying around the state about your interview ability. So no pressure, right? Yeah, but I'll be keeping an eye on you too.
Yeah, no pressure or anything. You watch about midway through, all of these nice things that you've said about me are going to go right out the door because I'm going to mispronounce a name or I'm going to say something incorrect. And of course, Helio Brasil and Charlie Hoffman are here to watch our vice presidential candidate forum. I assume they'll be making fun of me as well. So Edgar, thanks so much. Look forward to the rest of this broadcast. So folks, let me just give you an idea of how this is going to work. First, the importance of the vice presidential position. This position is elected by our ACSA Leadership Assembly coming up with our governance meetings in May here in Sacramento. The winner in this race has a line of succession to the ACSA president. As we currently have right now, we have our ACSA president, followed by our president-elect, and then vice president. So this person who wins this election in May will move into that role as ACSA vice president. Here's how the forum is going to work. We're going to go back and forth with our candidates, give each of them an opportunity to respond to the question that we ask, and we're going to alternate. So one of our candidates will answer one question, and then the other candidate will answer the next question. We hope to have some questions that come in on our live chat. Again, this is an interactive broadcast, so if you want to add in anything as far as questions are concerned, you can go ahead and do that in the chat. And as we move through our candidate forum, if we have time, we'll go ahead and tackle some of those. So let's go ahead and bring in our two great candidates, two education leaders that I have known for a very long time, have had the opportunity to see their important work and to share a couple of laughs with both of them. Catherine Castleberry is the coordinator of early childhood education at Torrance Unified School District, that is Region 14. And Rini Rickard is the Chief Innovation Officer, Ventura Unified School District in Region 13. To both of you, first, welcome. Second, thank you for being in this position, for being for volunteering to be one of our next vice presidents here at ACSA. It's an honor to have both of you here on this broadcast. And what we wanted to do first was give you an opportunity for some opening statements. So Catherine, we'll have you start.
Well, I am certainly excited to be here with all of you this morning, and just want to share all that I've learned throughout this process. I have had wonderful opportunities to speak to regions across the state, and boy, have I learned a lot. And I've been a member of ACSA since 2000. And I can safely say that this process has really afforded me the opportunity to learn more deeply about our association, its members, their needs, their wants, and planning to move forward and how to effectively address those needs and wants. And again, whatever the outcome here, I know that personally I'm a better ACSA member as a result of this process, and definitely intend to use all that I've learned and gained over the last several months to help continue to move ACSA forward in its mission, its vision, and its goals. So I'm truly grateful and appreciative of this opportunity.
And Rena, your opening statements.
Thank you so much, Naj, and thank you everybody for being online and watching us, and for all your support of both of us as candidates. To echo Catherine, I have learned more about ACSA in the past few months than I ever knew, and I'm so excited to be part of an organization that is so forward-thinking, that is so supportive of students and the adults who serve them, and that wants to do the right thing no matter what. So as we move into this next final stage of the election process, I hope that I instill confidence in my abilities in you to do an amazing job for you. And regardless of what the outcome is, I think ACSA members and our students will be the winners no matter what. So thank you again, and looking forward to this conversation.
Great. Thanks to both of you. Rini, we'll have you start with this question, and then Catherine, we'll have you respond right after. What do you see as the key issues in service of students, and how do you think ACSA can be more involved in supporting the students? Again, Rini, we'll have you start.
Thank you so much, Naj. So, there are so many issues facing our students, and we all know what those are. Those are equity, access to robust curriculums, et cetera. But what are the issues that we face as the ACSA leaders in helping our students navigate all that they have to in order to succeed? So we have, a funding issue, as we all know, with our budget the way it is, and the fact that much of our one-time money is going away. So we have to fund many mandates, many of which are unfunded, and that is a concern. Another one that comes to mind is the fact that we are held accountable for our chronic absenteeism in our students when we have very little control over whether or not kids come to school. We try to engage, we try to bring them in, yet our schools are held accountable, and that is shown on our dashboard. We really, as leaders, have carried education through the pandemic and up to now, where we are not taking care of ourselves, and our leaders are suffering. They are not taking care of their own social, emotional wellness. And so just like when we're in a plane and we hear if the oxygen mask comes out, put it over your own mouth and nose and breathe before you help the next person. we haven't really had the opportunity to be able to breathe on our own, and we just keep helping. And so we are facing burnout, and we are facing less safe places to work as far as physical and emotional health goes. Also, we have a very diverse state. We have large urban school districts, we have rural school districts, we have small school districts, and our concerns are different across the state. So managing all of that in a climate where there are certain mandates, certain expectations of us is a challenge. So what can ACSA do? So that's the second part of the question. What can ACSA do? Well, first of all, we need to follow our robust and well-written strategic plan, which really provides a roadmap for us to move our organization forward. Our fabulous executive director, GR team, and all the executive team at ACSA have done a fabulous job advocating for our students and for our adults with the legislature, making sure they know our stories, they hear our voices. We have Ledger Action Day coming up. That's super important. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you there, or many of you there, advocating for our students. But this is not just a one and done. We have to do this at the region and the charter level and tell our stories. And so ACSA can help us do that. ACSA can help by supporting us, the leaders, by providing professional development around mental wellness, mental health support, reminding us to take breaks. Again, mental wellness is not just for our students, it's for us also. Also, as far as professional development goes, more job alikes. Conferences that are a little bit different. I got to go to the Capitol conference this past weekend, and wow, what an experience. I hope I get to share what I learned with many of you, and I have some ideas for how we can move forward. Making our professional development relevant to all of us, maybe in smaller snippets rather than these larger events and venues. And then definitely engaging our younger administrators, because that is our future. And then open meetings. Last thing, open meetings so that people can attend different council and committee meetings and learn what's happening over there. So that is what I see that ACSA can do to help us get through some of these issues. Thank you.
And Catherine, let me go ahead and just give you the question again. What do you see as the key issues in service of students, and how do you think ACSA can be involved in supporting the students?
So, ACSA is involved in so many ways, and sort of narrowing it down, I had to really think about what our colleagues are dealing with across the state. And definitely what comes to mind is the fact that we are all so deeply rooted in the mental health and social and emotional well-being of students and staffs. And closely related to that, talking about students is how we are intervening with and addressing an escalation in behaviors that we have seen in students. And this is TK to 12th grade. And I think that we have to be very intentional and continuing to work with both students and staffs around what it means to bring our best selves to the work. And we have to do that addressing their mental, social, emotional well-being. And I think that ACSA is always poised to capitalize on the great work that it does with professional development. And I think that we can do that through making sure that we always have strands and topics that are focused on building knowledge and capacity around this very important issue of creating safe, inclusive, affirming environment for our students, and how we offer support to our members as educational leaders who are responsible for the care of both staff and students and their families within the community. We have to stay steadfast with this topic of, how we work on and ensure that our members have the capacity to do this work and to take care of themselves in the process. I think that we have to look at topics like MTSS and restorative practices, and how we acknowledge teaching and learning through a responsive lens. And again, working in these communities that we prepare a place for everyone to feel valued and welcome and seen and acknowledged in their work. Because when we do that, I believe strongly that everyone functions better, even our students who, perhaps are struggling with the ways in which to navigate, their worlds both in and outside of school. But if we come from a place of connectedness and inclusiveness, I believe that we tap into those areas of and in the lives of their students and adults, and how they can be more positive and productive in their work. For us in Torrance, we did some professional development work around inclusiveness, and we were fortunate enough to hear from, at the time, a superintendent and author in the New York area, Dr. Lavelle Brown. And he wrote a book called Culture of Love, which essentially talks about the importance of creating school communities built around this notion of a love and being welcome and connected. And I think that, we have an opportunity in ACSA to, again, build professional development that solidly speaks to this issue, because it really is at the forefront of what we're all dealing with at the school sites and within our own workplaces, be it classified leaders working in their departments and our colleagues at the county offices of education. We need to remain steadfast in our work around social emotional well-being. I also think that, and Dr. Rickard spoke to this, and I've messaged this across the state in my conversations with regions, that the sustainability of our work as educational leaders is really under attack. I messaged this out in the video that was sent out to our members, that here we are 4 years away from the height of the pandemic, and we're still very much immersed in attending to issues of pandemic spillover. And we've talked about it, like the behaviors that we're seeing with students, the academic deficits, chronic absenteeism, and staffing shortages, staffing burnout, staffing turnover. And I've been fortunate enough to be a part of the Leadership Development Committee that worked on ACSA Strategic Plan, a plan that, along with the One Voice for Students legislative platform, both of which speak to and have language specific to addressing the social, emotional, and well-being of both students and its members. And we have to make sure that the words on the pages of these documents don't sit idle, and that we are actively seeking out ways to ensure that we are purposeful and intentional in our support of the well-being of our members, of educational leaders, because we uniquely are responsible for staffs and students and their families, and we have to be able to feel supported in our work. I think that this also includes that ACSA leveraged its partnerships. We have had some wonderful opportunities at our leadership assembly meetings to partner with organizations like the Teaching Well. And so then how do we leverage that and expand that on a broader level, so that a wider range of our memberships can benefit from these partnerships, and how we double down on that. And so between these two things and many others, I think this is how we have to remain steadfast in our work in these areas.
All right. Now, before we move on to our next question, I am going to make sure I clarify the timing, because if I know these two very well, which I do, they will go through that 2 minutes. I wanted to give them both their time in that first one because I hadn't clarified it, but let me clarify so you guys can adjust your answers. 2 minutes. 2 minutes of time, or else we're going to bring out the big hook, or we're just going to shut your camera off. And
look, I know I was cut off at the all access.
No, that's
I know I'm talkative.
That's fine. Again,
we'll edit.
I should have clarified. We can't edit, Catherine. We are live here.
No,
so.
Personally edit.
Oh, personally. Okay. All right. Folks,
edit.
As they are contemplating their responses to the next questions, just want to remind all of you, if you have questions for our two great candidates, Rini and Catherine, you can go ahead and put those into our chat. Catherine, we'll let you have the first opportunity to respond to this next question. Let's discuss equity because the pandemic created new or exacerbated the existing equity issues. What are some ways that ACSA can be a leader in confronting some of the equity issues that are at the forefront of California public education? Catherine, we'll have you respond 2 minutes.
Well, listen, ACSA is already at the forefront of this work. We have been having these conversations and been at the table of these conversations since the beginning. And I think that, we do a wonderful job of effectively sort of addressing educational and social emotional needs of our students through an equity lens. And as I mentioned, we do this through our work of developing important and strong and respectful relationships, which is essential to providing a quality education to students. We have a whole institute devoted to this work. And I was fortunate enough to be able to attend this year's Equity Institute, where we were involved in some wonderful learning and continuing to build our capacities around what it means to respond to the needs of all students. When we're talking about access, that's what equity work is. And not just through a cultural lens. When we're talking about access, we're talking about our special education students, our students from socioeconomically disadvantaged backgrounds, our foster youth and unhoused populations, what it means to effectively support all of these students, and continuing to put together workshops and opportunities for folks to come together and talk about what it means to create, again, compassionate communities that bring together our work at the intersection of social emotional learning, diversity, equity, inclusion, and trauma-informed practices. We need to forge ahead in this work. And I know that's happening because the work is spilling out into our regions. I also had an opportunity to attend the Equity Symposium that was held and hosted by Regions 5, 6, and 8. So the work that we're doing, everyone understands the importance of it, how rooted that we need to be in it, how it is essential that we represent our marginalized and underrepresented populations, and the equity conversation has to continue. And we have to make sure that we are bringing everyone along in this conversation, because I believe 100% that we're educators for a reason, but we also exist within ACSA for a reason, and that is to best serve the student in every way that we can, allowing them access and opportunity. And so we need to forge ahead in this equity work, and we need to be unapologetically doing so.
All right, Rini, I'll have you respond to that question as well. 2 minutes.
Thank you so much, Naj. So I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it over and over again. Equity is not a zero-sum game. Okay, everyone gets to be at the table, eating the meal, choosing from the menu, all of it, because everyone has to be valued, seen, heard, and included. And as Catherine said, when we say all, I mean all. I mean our LGBTQ plus students, our students in different racial and ethnic groups, our special education students, and everybody else. We all belong. We need to feel that we belong, that we count, that we are heard. And so how does ACSA help with that? Well, we are on a great journey. Yes, the Equity Institute was fabulous. Thank you, Dr. Patricia Brent-Sanko and your team for an amazing, amazing job of always being there. Thank you also to CAPL for doing an amazing job with their conference this week. So yes, we are talking about equity. We're talking about all students, and we have more to do. We have to speak up, and we have to educate. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of not understanding about what we mean by equity, and that just because someone is included does not mean that someone is excluded. We have to forge partnerships and coalitions in support of all of our students and all of the adults who serve them. Facilitating conversations, forming consortia, talking to legislators, building understanding in our communities, in our school districts, debunking inaccuracies by informing and educating. Because sometimes we hear something, we don't quite understand it, but we hear the word or the term being repeated and repeated and repeated, and the definition of the term becomes the definition we're heard, not what really is. So definitely educating, working together to make sure that all of our students and the adults who serve them are loved, accepted, and included.
Want to welcome all of you viewers online to our 2024 ACSA Vice Presidential Town Hall Forum. If you have any questions, this is, of course, a live and interactive show. So if you have any questions for our two candidates, go ahead and post those into our chat, and we'll go ahead and try and tackle some of those at the end of our broadcast today. Rini, we'll have you start, and then Catherine will have you respond as well. But the next question, student and education leader advocacy, incredibly important. And we've seen examples of that time and time again this year. Let's talk about how we can expand that role and continue to push ACSA as the leader in student and educator advocacy. Rini, I'll have you start. 2 minutes.
So that is our job, right? As leaders, we need to lead. We need to inform. We need to let people know when things are okay and when things are not okay and need helping. Our students and many of the adults in our communities do not feel that they have a voice. And it is our job as educated leaders to speak on their behalf. This is my why, and you've all heard me say that my why comes from living among people that did not have a voice and no one saw their potential. That is what I believe ACSA does, is that we speak on behalf of our students. So when we see that something is not okay, we speak up. We are also in this great United States of America where we do have freedoms, and those need to be also talked about and also advocated for. Everybody belongs. Everybody deserves to be heard. All viewpoints need to be heard. And if we don't agree, let's disagree in a civil manner where everybody feels safe expressing their opinions, expressing their views. ACSA needs to also work with our legislatures to make sure that all of our students and all of the adults who serve them are safe and they do feel valued. We also need to educate and inform by using our social media platforms, by using venues such as the legislative lunch break, maybe even opening that up to others, and then also continuing to advocate on the needs of our students and the adults who serve them, because that is what we are here to do. That is what we are mandated to do. That is what our North Star is. And that is what our moral imperative is.
And Catherine, let me go ahead and just give you the question once again. Student and education leader advocacy, incredibly important. And we've seen examples of that time and time again this year. Let's talk about how we can expand that role and continue to push ACSA as the leader in student and educator advocacy. 2 minutes.
Yes. So advocacy, student and education leader advocacy is really at the core of ACSA's mission, vision, its values, deeply at the core of it. And we do a wonderful job of amplifying and elevating the voices of our members, our educational leaders. I know that, we have a governmental relations department that is always eager to have our members, our educational leaders, our administrators share their stories and their lived experiences in their work. And I think that we need to continue doing that in our lobbying and advocacy work. We need to make sure that it's our members' stories who are being highlighted and elevated and brought to the attention of legislators. And again, governmental relations does that. And so we need to continue that, remain steadfast in that work. We also have our premier event, our Legislative Action Days event, which are coming up next week, where we have prime opportunities to speak with legislators face to face about what's happening in our schools and share our boots on the ground stories. And this is so powerful because this is what moves legislators. We're inspired by a person's journey, their lived experiences and what's happening with them and how it impacts their work, effectively supporting the needs of students and their families and the staffs that we all support as educational leaders. So, ACSA needs to continue this work and expand on it, and continue taking it across the states, and advocating and lobbying at the federal level. This is all work that's paramount to us here. And then also with student voice, boy, have we begun to do a wonderful job of highlighting students and what they have to say and how we can effectively support them, because, we can't assume anything. And today's students really are among the best and the brightest. I just think about myself at 16, 17, and 18 and don't think I was half as articulate. But as mentioned earlier, we've traveled across the state, Rini and I, and we've had wonderful student voices being heard and elevated. And we need to continue that and really bring it to the forefront.
Let me go ahead and go to just a couple of viewer questions if we have a couple of moments here before we close. And Catherine, I'll have you start. How do you plan to address the unique challenges faced by small school districts, such as limited resources and staffing in comparison to larger districts? Catherine, I'll have you start. 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that I, having worked the last 20 years in a large school district with over 22,000 students, I have to educate myself, and we as members have to educate ourselves about what schooling looks like for our colleagues working in small school districts. Again, my work on the Leadership Development Committee has uniquely afforded me the opportunity to learn about the work of our colleagues in small school districts. We have our wonderful Amy Alzina, who is a huge advocate for small school districts and how ACSA can effectively support the work. And so I think that it continues to be a process of educating ourselves and putting ourselves in the spaces where we can understand uniquely the staffing issues and the funding issues that our small school districts are facing, and how ACSA can leverage its resources and its partnerships to specifically support the work that's being done in our small school districts. I think what comes to mind most immediately is how we can capitalize on community schools. And if small school districts can or can't get those grants, how we capitalize on the concepts of that. We have a wonderful Partners for Purpose program, and are we using that partnership to help and support our small school district counterparts?
And Rini, I'll have you respond as well. The question that came in: how do you plan to address the unique challenges faced by small school districts, such as limited resources and staffing in comparison to larger districts? We'll give you 2 minutes.
Thank you for that question from the audience. I appreciate this. So yes, as Catherine very, very beautifully said, the challenges are huge, and the assumptions are that regardless of how small the staff is and how limited your resources are, you are still going to get the work done. And that needs to stop, right? So as Catherine said, definitely by educating ourselves, but then educating those that make the rules, that pass the laws, and help them understand the challenges that our small school districts face each and every day. At a large school district such as mine, there's about 14,000 and change in our school district. We have directors and we have a CBO. We have 2 other assistant superintendents, a superintendent. In many of our small school districts, you have a superintendent and maybe another assistant superintendent or a superintendent principal. And so that really limits what you can do as far as writing that LCAP and writing the Prop 28 plan and all the other things. So it's about educating, advocating on their behalf, listening to what the needs are, and then helping everybody move forward with making sure that the administrators and staffs at these small school districts are not overburdened and have the same opportunity to thrive as the rest of us do.
Another viewer question, and this goes directly to something that ACSA does, which is provide professional development to our members, to other education leaders. Rini, we'll have you start with this question. What are your plans to engage ACSA's classified members with events that provide transferable skills? Rini, we'll give you 2 minutes.
Thank you, Naj. So thank you for this question, and I'm really glad that we're addressing the needs of classified staff, because so often in our schools, in our districts, we do not pay attention to their needs and providing them with professional development that is meaningful. And instead of putting them in spaces where we do our educationalese jargon, let's have them be partners with us in learning what is appropriate to their position so that they have career ladders and can move forward in their realm. We also can have our classified leaders instruct and provide training to the certificated staff, so we understand what the needs are in the classified realm. Also, to include all aspects of our classified staffs and not just have a CEL conference every year, but have mini conferences at regional levels and at the region conferences, such as the Mid-State and the North-State Conference, maybe have that classified leader strand so that they feel that there is some value to attending, because we have to partner together. Classified and certificated leaders have to partner together, because we're here for one reason and one reason alone, and that is student success.
My turn.
There we go. Let's try that. Let's try that again. You would think after all of these years, I would have figured out how to hit unmute. Catherine, we'll give you 2 minutes to respond to that same question. What are your plans to engage ACSA's classified members with events that provide transferable skills?
Yes. So, in our travels up and down the state, we've learned that our classified managers and leaders, that we need to do a better job of acknowledging their work and the contributions that they make in schools. And I think that the way that we do that is by simply making sure that our members who are classified leaders feel acknowledged and considered in the work that ACSA does, on par with our certificated folks. And I think that just comes from the basic notion of the importance of making sure that everyone feels included in the process and acknowledged in the work and the efforts that are being done. And so ACSA has an opportunity here to really highlight and elevate the work that our classified managers and leaders are doing. I think that we need to listen to this group and hear uniquely what their needs and concerns are, and then address them. Again, we have a strategic plan that talks about what it means to address the needs of all of its members. And so we have to make sure that we are focusing on our classified folks. I did get an opportunity to attend the Cell Institute, and it's a wonderful, and it needs to continue, and we need to expand on it, because it's a wonderful opportunity for our association to specifically create workshops and secure presenters who can speak to the work that our classified managers are doing, that our classified leaders are contributing. And I think that we have an opportunity to capitalize on some internal affinity spaces that allow an opportunity for, again, shared experiences and our lived experiences. I trust I'm okay. But we also can tap into our retirees and our mentorship program to specifically help the work that our classified leaders bring to the association. So we just have to start by making sure that they are included in all of the work that ACSA is doing.
Yeah, you said something being included in the process, which I'll tackle this final viewer question that's come in, and Catherine will have you respond. I'll give you a moment to get a drink of water while you're listening to this. This comes in from a viewer. As ACSA as a group specifically developed to support educational leaders in the public school sector, how will you ensure all leaders from both charter leadership and traditional leadership feel welcome at ACSA?
Yeah, so this is an interesting topic. We've had some conversations about this recently as a board of directors. And so, it highlighted the need for us to bring these two groups of folks together. Because I think in doing so, what we'll find is that, we all have a common goal. And it is to make sure that students are being effectively educated, that our families are feeling supported, and that at the end of the day, wherever our children attend schools, that they're doing so in safe and inclusive and affirming environments. It's the work of all of us, whether or not we're doing it in a charter school or a traditional public school. But I also think that we need to bring these two groups of educational leaders together to help us understand, the relationship in our work and the reciprocity that can be gained in our work, and how traditional schools benefit from, having charters who perhaps are financially supporting by the use of facilities, and how charter schools benefit from being allowed to operate within school districts. I think that we have to just really develop a common understanding and goal about what the work looks like, and how we do so, really honestly, sort of creating a symbiotic relationship. Because all of this aside, whether we're educating students in a charter or traditional public school, what we need to do is make sure that everyone is on the same page, and that we're not pointing fingers, but rather we are coming up with ways in which we coexist in support of students and their families.
Rini, I'll give you 2 minutes to respond to this as well. Let me just go ahead and give you the question once again. As ACSA as a group specifically developed to support educational leaders in the public school sector, how will you ensure all members from both charter leadership and traditional leadership feel welcome in ACSA? 2 minutes.
So that again goes back to, what do we mean when we say all leaders? Do we mean all except, or do we really mean all? So as Catherine so beautifully pointed out, these are all of our students, and it is our job as leaders to serve them. And students get to choose where they want to be, their families get to choose, and we get to serve. And so it behooves us to partner, to understand, to learn, so that we're not arguing and fighting, and that our students thrive. That is what we are here to do, is to build environments for kids where they flourish, where they grow, where they learn best. I can tell you, my daughter personally has student taught at Chime Charter in Los Angeles Unified School District, and loves how inclusive that school is. And it welcomes everybody. And LA Unified works with them. So that type of partnership, that type of collaboration, I think can only do amazing things for our students. And after all, that's what we as ACSA leaders want. So let's partner up, let's learn, let's understand, let's work together.
All right, I've got one more question for the two of you, and then we'll give you an opportunity to give some closing statements. So, Rini, I'll have you respond to this first. 5 years from now, where's our organization, and how do you think your prospective position in ACSA leadership can move us in that direction? 2 minutes.
Thank you so much, Naj. And this one's going to be a tough one to do 2 minutes on. But in order to even answer the question, I have to reflect back on the past 5 years. And 5 years ago, we were in the middle of a pandemic, and things were very different. And look where we are now. We have an amazing executive director, a lot of turnover in ACSA staff. We've taken stances in support of school leaders and administrators. We've communicated beautifully. The lunch breaks are amazing. There are regular reports. There's a lot of transparency. And we continue to provide outstanding professional development. So what I see moving forward is we will continue to build on what we've already started, right? You value the past in order to embrace the present and then move forward into the future. And so continuing to listen to our membership, and that is our memberships from our public school districts, from our small districts, from our rural districts, from our charter districts. Let's listen to everybody and let's respond to changing needs. Our strategic plan is a living and growing document, and it will need to change depending on what is happening in the current landscape at the time and based on student and educator needs. Our organization will have a better idea of what the diverse needs are of our students and the adults who serve them. In 5 years, I'm hoping more of our legislators will better understand what our issues are and how we can better serve our students and our communities. We'll definitely have a higher level of engagement, because I know that my pledge to you is to engage each and every one of you, no matter where you are and who you are and what you look like and where you live. And then definitely increase membership overall as everybody sees the increased value of ACSA.
And Catherine, I'll go ahead and restate the question for you. 5 years from now, where's our organization, and how do you think your prospective position in state ACSA leadership can move us in that direction? 2 minutes for you.
I'll share again that my work on the Leadership Development Committee over the last couple of years really has given me a unique perspective of how ACSA works and operates. And I think that what we'll continue to do is develop and work on strategic plans that really are intentional and meaningful in ensuring that the needs of our members are being met, because the needs of our members being met means that the needs of our students and their families within their school communities are being met as well. And I think that, just as is the case now, in 5 years, ACSA will continue to be, the premier advocacy organization working on behalf of the students that we serve in the state of California. That goes without saying. ACSA's work is legendary, and I'm about ensuring that the legacy of ACSA remains strong. And my part in that looks like continuing to do my part as an active member, continuing to ensure that ACSA is the driving force behind, legislative policy and quality professional development and networking, and what that looks like for our members moving forward. And I think that we can only get better because we have such a strong and solid foundation. And what I hope is that in 5 years from now, and really in 50 years from now, the work that we do in ACSA is seen not as a moment, but a movement.
Perfect. Just to give both of you and all of our viewers an idea of the importance of this position, we have not only all of our executive board members participating, watching this broadcast, but also so many of our statewide board members also participating, and so many voters from our leadership assembly also participating. So thanks to all of you for being part. We'll move on to closing statements as we near the top of the hour here. Catherine will give you 2 minutes for closing statements.
Thank you for that reminder. 2 minutes, and I've taken up 20 seconds now. My platform has been across the board around advocacy. I have shared it in my conversations with regions. I was born an advocate, and whether you liked it or not, I was always going to advocate in support of those who, I felt needed representation or support in that area. And, I want to use my longtime membership in ACSA. What I have gained personally is being part of charter and region and state leadership to help move ACSA's agenda forward. I have been talking about cultivating connections because I think ACSA does a phenomenal job of bringing us together and in spaces that really allow each of us to continue remaining motivated and supported and joyful in our work. I think that that's so important. And I believe, we do that through meaningful relationships. And I have been fortunate to forge so many wonderful relationships that I now want to capitalize on and just expand on my work and my presence in the association, an association that has given so much to me personally. Now it's time, that you step up and you serve at a different level and you give back to something that's given so much to you. And that's what I intend to do in my work in ACSA, whatever that capacity is. Hopefully it is as your next ACSA state vice president, because I know that advocacy is where it's at and will always be at the foundation of my work in this association. So thank you for the opportunity.
And Rini, I'll give you 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Thank you, Naj. So I appreciate all of you for being on this call at this time of day. I know you're very, very busy. As you know, I have a lot of experience as an educator, 36 years at all different levels. I have done a lot of things, created a lot of programs. I've also been a 32-year ACSA member and have sat in a number of chairs and am now serving as an ACSA Region 13 state board director. And I recognize that when I am your ACSA VP, that I will be standing on the shoulders of these giants who have come before me. And I pledge to continue their excellent work. We have a wonderful organization and we will move forward strongly and with following our moral imperative and our North Star. I will work with all of you, listen to all of you, and really hear you, not just listen, but hear you and hear the needs of your districts and regions and help you, help me, and help all of us in implementing our strategic plan, which will grow and change as we move forward. I will definitely be the loudest, strongest voice advocating for full and stable funding for all of us. And I will celebrate diversity that exists across our state and make sure that each and every one of you, regardless of who you are, whether you're from a large school district, a small school district, a rural school district, a charter school, a county office of education, wherever you are felt included, seen, heard, and valued. Because to me, all means all. And I very much look forward to serving you as your next ACSA vice president. Thank you.
And I just want to echo a comment that has been in our chat, this from Parveen Ahmadi, our ACSA president and the superintendent in Castro Valley Unified School District. Parveen says, thank you both for stepping up and running for this important position. You are both appreciated and respected for your commitment to students as educational leaders in this state. So that from our ACSA president, Parveen Ahmadi. Let me go ahead and introduce you as we wrap up our broadcast to our two great vice presidential candidates, Catherine Castleberry, coordinator of early childhood education at Torrance Unified School District, that is ACSA Region 14, and Rini Rickard, who's the chief innovation officer from the Ventura Unified School District, ACSA Region 13. Catherine, Rini, it's been great having you here on the broadcast. We look forward to this vote coming up in May, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
And folks, a reminder, the ACSA vice president is elected in May at the governance meetings, the ACSA Leadership Assembly, that is in Sacramento, again, coming up in May. And then the vice president is immediately sworn in to their office. And the line of succession here at ACSA for its statewide leadership, president, president-elect, and then vice president. So that is the information that you need to know ahead of that election in May. We thank you so much for being with us here on the 2024 ACSA Vice President Candidate Forum. We'll see you next time.